The British Mathematical Olympiad Round 2, or BMO2 for short, is the hardest math competition in the UK, consisting of just 4 problems over 3.5 hours, each scored out of 10 for a maximum of 40 marks. It's like the UK's equivalent of USAMO. Only around 100 people qualify from BMO1 each year, and it's definitely the hardest one I can qualify for. So you could say it's the one competition I've been working towards my entire career. One does not simply walk in. So how did I get here? Being a British international school, I've been doing UK competitions ever since I was eligible, which is to say, around when I joined the school nearly 8 years ago. All roads start with the challenge rounds, which are 25 multiple choice questions for an hour. I took my first ever maths competition, the Junior Maths Challenge, in year 4 when I first joined my current school. And I don't remember that much from the competition, but I'm pretty sure I was thrown off by the style of problems in the first math competition. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I only managed to get a bronze medal, so nothing much there. But next year, I cooked. I had been studying with this really nice set of books, Murderous Maths, highly recommend for people under year 8, I would say. A range of topics. We have some algebra, counting and probability, we have formulas, we have geometry, bunch of general stuff as well, and it's just really fun. I really love the illustrations in these books actually, and I remember so much about that competition. I remember where I was sitting in, I remember memorizing my answer choices as a sequence of musical notes, A, B, C, D, E, because I guess my perfect pitch was better back then. And long story short, I answered 24 questions and got 24 questions right. That sent me straight to the Olympiad, where I wrote my first ever proofs. It was the good old days, and I, once again no idea how, managed to get around top 90 in the world out of like 1,000 people, getting a silver medal. I never did break that JMC record from year 5, only tying it in year 8, but I did manage to get a gold medal on the JMO that same year. Skipping ahead through secondary, I did the intermediate challenge a number of times, as well as the follow-up Olympiads, which progressively got harder and harder, but my true goal was always the senior challenge. In year 7, my first time taking it, I missed out on the gold threshold by 2 marks, only getting a silver certificate. The next year, I got gold, and the next, I finally qualified to BMO. Not BMO2, just BMO1. It's like BMO2, but easier. You get 6 questions, and the last one is only around BMO2 problem 1 difficulty, I would say. I was one step closer, but it wasn't enough. I was maybe 3 or 5 marks away from the BMO2 threshold, but I was still one step closer. To finish this backstory, I finally qualified for BMO2 in year 10, but found myself utterly unprepared for the questions, getting only 4 out of 44, being basically stuck for the entire time and writing random stuff down. The next year, I failed to qualify once again, but this year, I finally made it back, finding out the results in mid-December, meaning I would have about a month to prepare for a great lock-in. Something important is that the BMO2 doesn't really require knowledge of any too advanced topics or theorems, which should be in my favor.
Foreshadowing as a narrative device.
I don't have a category of question that I think I'm especially strong at, but this year I decided to work on my 2 weakest, geometry and number theory. My existing geometry skills were safe for stuff like the AMC or the first 10 questions of Amy, and at that level I think you'll be fine with the following, which really isn't too much, and so if you practice enough, you'll be able to pick everything up pretty quickly. At the beginner to intermediate level, I have focused on 2 principles which I think are really important. The first is to always angle chase as much as possible, look for parallel perpendicular lines, similar triangles, cyclic quadrilaterals, etc. And the second is to always consider what you haven't done yet. However, for an advanced comp like the BMO2, I realized I was way out of my depth. In fact, I'd only ever solved 1 problem independently from the competition before. So I need to learn some content first before trying some problems and practicing. Otherwise, I just get stuck indefinitely. So how does one learn for such competitions? I decided to consult some friends in high places. I think I'm an Evan fan. But yeah, if you're dead set on doing math Olympiads, definitely give his website as well as his Otis program a good look. Personally, even though I am preparing for BMO2 a month in advance, I've definitely transitioned to looking much more at math outside competitions. Also, his book Egmo is really famous in math communities, and I can see it's for good reason. The biggest thing I noticed was the really high quality of hints that he provides to all the problems, which throughout the book is a massive number. But unfortunately, that's not to say that it instantly made me able to do really hard geometry. Right? Quite the opposite, because I was finding it a struggle to get through every single page. It was a very difficult read. But no fear, that is the #1 rule of math: you don't fear the math.
Definitely a mess, a little bit scary. But we know the key for scary problems like this: no fear. So we have no fear.
Anyways, I'm a very intuitive problem solver, which means that a lot of the time my intuition can be correct, but when it's not, I find it really hard to get back on track. And so while reading hints, a lot of the times I would notice that, oh, though that hint is really similar to what I was thinking. But since my basic geometry skills were not good enough, it was hard to put 2 and 2 together. And so that's something that you need to practice, and so practice I did. Since BMO2 doesn't require advanced content, I only read chapters 1 to 5. The first 4 cover what is known as synthetic geometry, which deals only with lengths and angles and doesn't use coordinates or trig. Then chapter 5 got into a little bit of analytic geo, so I gave myself a little practice with basically bashing the problems in case I was desperate. After this, I had acquired all the knowledge and was ready to try some problems. It worked great, and there's nothing much more I can say about it. I went from stuff looking like this to stuff looking like this. And while that's still a way off from stuff on the IMO that looks like this, I'd say it's a pretty good improvement. This book I ordered arrived, which is a compilation of past BMO2 problems along with their solutions. UKMT doesn't make the solutions publicly available on their website, which is annoying because they're greedy, but I need this book for practice, so I had to buy it. Everyone knows that more than reading, solving problems is the real way to improve. And solving problems I did. I noticed that I could solve even a bunch of problem 4 geometries in the paper, which are supposed to be the hardest. January was looking a little bit brighter.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious. Other times it can be more obscure or esoteric.
Here's a nice problem that I found. We have an acute triangle, ADC, and we draw its circumcircle with circumcenter O. And then we choose a point P within the triangle. We extend AP through P to the circumcircle to get A prime, and then similarly extend BP to get B prime and CP to get C prime. And then we define lots of circumcenters. So we have OA here, which is the circumcenter of BPC, OB, which is the circumcenter of CPA, OC, which is the circumcenter of APB, and then OA prime, which is the circumcenter of B prime P C prime, OB prime, which is the circumcenter of C prime P A prime, and finally OC prime to be the circumcenter of A prime P B prime. And the question asks us to prove that the lines OA, OA prime, OB, OB prime, and OC, OC prime are concurrent. If you want, you can take a moment to solve this problem yourself, because I don't want this to become a math video and talk about the solution, but I will give 3 hints. Now, by this time, there were around 10 days left until BMO2, and with me spending a bit more time on other math stuff, I'll get to that in the end, I decided to only do some light work in number theory. I found this book, which is really useful for picking things up quickly. It doesn't have many practice problems, but it has so many examples that after a sufficient point, you can just stop flipping through the book and try the problem for yourself. The book got me up to speed with some complicated problems on divisibility with lots of casework, as well as getting practice on some modular arithmetic. It actually got kind of fun, which is something I never thought I'd ever feel about Olympiad number theory. It's always seemed the most weird, unexplainable magic-like. I don't know why, but somehow doing it started feeling like playing with a bunch of tiny Legos, nanoblocks you could say, stuff like that. Number theory feels small in my already small hands. Getting back on track, I decided to read up on some inequalities. I didn't think it would be that useful since inequalities are a rare topic on BMO2 and usually all you need is some AMGM and or Cauchy-Schwarz, but I have a soft spot for them. More people should appreciate inequalities. And this website was pretty useful. Finally, I did the last year's paper with all my preparation. I'd never seen the paper before, and managed to get 3 out of 4 questions. So, on the day of the competition, I walked in confident that I would be able to deal with anything that the exam paper brought on me. Except for this year's paper, apparently. At first glance, I instantly knew that these questions were going to be sort of weird, but nevertheless, I powered through with problem 1, number theory, and had it solved in around an hour or so. Next, I moved on to problem 2, geometry, which I believed myself to be quite strong at. Guess what? I couldn't do it. Looking back at it now, it seems so simple. I had all the key elements down on my paper, literally all of them, but I just failed in the execution. Perhaps I could have got an alternative solution, had it not been for the fact that it used spiral similarity, which appears in chapter 10 of EGMO. But yeah, anyways, with that, the hope drained from my mind, and I could only give a half-hearted fake solve with some key observations. And the same went for problem 3. I was mentally shaken, and with that, didn't even have enough time to attempt the last problem properly. Results time. I ended with a 9. Yeah, 9 out of 40. Not even close to what I wanted. After over a month of grinding, nearly 8 years of climbing the BMO ladder, I didn't even manage to solve a single question's worth of marks before crumbling. It was a total collapse. Maybe after spending a month at Yale Math Camp and meeting all these smart people and getting really gassed up that this might be my year, the math gods decided just to humble me a little before everything got too far. And math is supposed to be humbling. If I judge myself on the score, then of course all this prep was a big waste of time. But here's the thing, as cliche as it is, we must consider the journey as well as the destination. 2 years ago, if I were to try this paper, even if I had 5, 6, 7, 10 hours even, I wouldn't be able to solve a single problem. I just wouldn't be able to. But this year the problems were within my grasp. I had the intuition, I just lacked the speed and stamina for execution. And I say speed because 3.5 hours doesn't seem like that long for a problem anymore. Which is a good thing, because Olympiads are just a tiny part of what math can be. Right? The BMO2 was the end of one journey. But you could also say it was the ultimate warm-up for another one. Because around the same time that I was beginning my BMO2 grind, I was starting to embark on the actual most intense math grind of my life. For the next 2 months, I would attempt 3 grueling problem sets to try and apply to 3 math camps at once.